There might be another sandbag down in the staircase.
guess your fan club. We relish this time here with God smiling down on us. Lord, we know how special it is that we are all together after so much time spent in isolation. Look around you. Take this all in, for you are on sacred ground surrounded by these hallowed halls. Know how this holy space has sustained us this spring. It is where we have come for sustenance, spike ball, SNL, Sunday services, school meeting, silent disco, and ultimately for spiritual uplift and connection. Today, it is where these seniors will say their final goodbyes and express gratitude for lessons absorbed and friendships kindled. Stir up in us now, God, the joy of family and friends. Remind us of the holy alliances of faith and learning, kindness and service, love and devotion, and may this celebration of the class of 2021 instill in us deep joy as we create lasting memories of our time spent together here on this front lawn, on this holy ground. Bless now these seniors and all who are here to support them, and give us gratitude as we marvel at all you have accomplished through God's unwavering love. Amen.
Please be seated. Parents, grandparents, siblings, relatives, family, friends, both here and watching virtually across the nation and the world. Chair of the Board of Trustees, Scott Saprell, and members of the Board of Trustees. Our fifth head of school, Joy McGrath, and her husband, Ty Jones. Faculty, staff, students, and members of our graduating class. It is an honor to welcome you to St. Andrew's 88th commencement ceremony in our celebration of the class of 2021. In those 88 years, there have probably been years where gathering together at the end of a year felt miraculous. But no year feels more miraculous than this one. As one of the central rituals that has defined the development of the St. Andrew's vision over the years, commencement provides a space for reflection, gratitude, inspiration, and ultimately, we accept responsibility for the culture and promise of our country and our global community. We welcome parents and grandparents and relatives and guardians today and collectively express our love and appreciation and thanks to you and all of your families for your steadfast and generous support over these past few years. You have partnered with us in the transformation that has developed in our students over their careers here. You collectively have inspired one another's children by the ways you've shared your lives, your families, so generously and so extensively. And this year, Chip Edens, Tiana Grimes-Wolf, and this morning, Gary Taylor, parents of the class of 2021, have spoken so eloquently about the St. Andrew's culture and abiding spirit, all the while reminding us that this is just the beginning, that St. Andrew's virtues need expansion immediately into the life of the world. And then there was the letter, the email that Shivani Argowal, Arush's mother, sent me in August 2018, that I read every morning. The most powerful email I've ever received from a new parent. And this is what she wrote. Just a few hours ago, Arush finally left this small Himalayan mountainous town in India. with his dad to fly across the oceans to begin a new journey at St. Andrews. I am excited about the amazing experience and the remarkable journey that he is about to embark on at St. Andrews. But as a mother, as I let go of him today, my heart is sad too, and feels very heavy, as though it will sink. I thought I was ready for this moment. Surely I wasn't, though. Even though I live in a residential school and have studied in boarding schools on and off since the age of 6. As a mother, I pray that he will not only be fine, but will flourish at St. Andrews. The email ends, "Please take care of my son." This has been our mission and our calling, to take care of the students I described, and I know I'm biased, but I know I'm right, as the best students in the country and in the world. And it is about cultivating their intellect. And it is about cultivating their enormous artistic and athletic skills and abilities. But ultimately, it's about inspiring them to live lives of goodness and grace in the world. Shivani, thank you for inspiring me by that email every day. Over the past 16 months, you as families have confronted the tragedy and magnitude and reality of a pandemic that has claimed over 3 million lives globally and nearly 600,000 lives in the United States. You have found ways to honor our medical and scientific community, to protect essential workers and vulnerable members of your communities wherever you live. And today, you join with us in beginning the most exciting and ambitious work of all, the work to regenerate and rebuild our country and world as we begin to emerge from this test of our national character and our capacity ultimately for sacrifice and empathy and love. You as parents supported St. Andrews' commitment to the health and safety of our students and teachers and staff members and families in Middletown and Delaware, in the United States and global communities. You understood that the most powerful lessons in life come in our responses to emergencies. A lot of people think emergencies are inconveniences. A lot of people think emergencies should never happen to them. But emergencies, as we all know, are the opportunity to come together. You knew that the power of love and patience and sacrifice and humility were the qualities that could bring us through this crisis. It would give our doctors and scientists and researchers time to do the miraculous work that they needed. All they needed was the unity of a country that would give them that time and would honor all lives all the time. So you thought widely and expansively instead of selfishly and narrowly. And as Gary Taylor mentioned earlier today, that was another countercultural moment for the school, for its students, for its faculty, for its staff, and for its parent body. You thought broadly, you thought expansively and generously. It's already clear, even at this moment of such potential and optimism and hope, it's already clear that secondary and undergraduate education will play a crucial role in the regeneration of our civic and democratic society in the months and years to come. This is our opportunity in the world of education. Tragedy and human suffering and uncertainty and challenges can break us or divide us or turn us inward or turn us towards selfishness or embarrassing lamentation or even outrage and hatred and bigotry. But tragedy can also lift the human spirit to new heights of compassion and love and sacrifice and connection and epiphany. Surely the experience of something that we were all in together gives us this hope that once and for all, despite our history, despite our struggles, we might ultimately realize that every single human life is sacred, and every single life deserves our ultimate defense every day. Today, on Memorial Day weekend, we remember that the meaning of life emerges from acts and commitments to good work and causes that are larger than ourselves. Meaning emerges from courage and sacrifice and love and honor. It doesn't usually emerge from comfort and security and passivity and silence. Meaning emerges when we unite for the good of all. Meaning unites when we risk our lives to preserve the lives for those who will follow us. And today we join our country in remembering those who sacrificed everything for the cause of freedom, for the values we in this country protect and hold sacred and seek to bring to life with every passing generation and era. Right now, I ask all members of this commencement audience who have served their own countries and those in our graduating class who will serve their countries to stand so that we may recognize you and draw strength and inspiration from your service and reflect on the meaning of courage and sacrifice and heroism in the face of danger, uncertainty, and chaos. This service, this courage, this sacrifice is open to all, but particularly look around you in this audience to those who have served. So it is an honor to announce today that Trey Ketzner, Air Force, Felix Hernandez, Coast Guard, and Emily Boyer, West Point, who will be our first St. Andrews women to attend West Point. Will serve with that spirit of courage and teamwork and patriotism following their graduation from St. Andrews. And now I'm honored to read the following citations that I received for Emily and for Felix. And I would love you to come up after I read this certificate. This is from the United States Military Academy at West Point. Certificate of Appointment. On behalf of the President of the United States of America, and the United States Military Academy Admissions Committee, I take great pleasure in presenting this certificate of appointment to Emily Nicole Boyer for the class of 2025. Signed, Darrell A. Williams, Lieutenant General, U.S. Army Superintendent. Emily. From the United States Coast Guard Academy. By virtue of the authority vested in me by the Commandant of the Coast Guard, Felix Inaki Hernandez is hereby tendered an appointment as a cadet in the United States Coast Guard. This appointment is contingent upon acceptance thereof, qualification in accordance with the standards as defined in the regulations governing appointment and execution of the oath of office. Signed, William G. Kelly, Rear Admiral, U.S. Coast Guard, Superintendent, U.S. Coast Guard Academy. Felix. So every global and national emergency inspires heroism and creativity and sacrifice. And today we thank our medical community, our doctors, and our nurses, and our emergency responders. And we think of all the members of our communities who serve as essential workers and citizens who work on the front lines that enable our communities to continue to thrive in an emergency. So too, all of you who work in healthcare, all of you who work in the medical community, all of you who are essential workers, all of you who are educators, please stand so we can salute you as members of this community, of this nation and the world, who allowed this nation's work to continue and allowed so many of us to remain safe and in sanctuary. Please stand. So this is the heroism and the grit and the sacrifice we must learn and build in the coming years. This is rhetoric turned to action. This is the movement of St. Andrews, the movement of all those who participate and are moved by this school. All of these members of our community who just stood have led us to a moment in our country where we can begin to plan a post-pandemic future. This is just the beginning of that future. And in that same spirit, I am proud to announce that Director of Health Services Annette Rickholt is the 2021 recipient of the St. Andrews Distinguished Alumni Award. I'm going to talk about her for a second. So the award recognizes a member of the alumni body who has made generous contributions to the work of our democracy and our world. So in her career, first at Christiana Care, where she spent 3 years in trauma nursing and 13 years in the newborn intensive care unit at Christiana Hospital in Wilmington, Annette has established herself as the consummate professional, leader, and agent of healing and support and love. This work emerges here at St. Andrews and at Christiana Care through a brilliant mastery of the art of health services and then the art of human care, connection, and proximity. She is always present, always generous, always patient, always wise, always caring. I know this. I ask her questions via text and email all day long. What can I do? Can I do this? Would this be wise? Would this be judicious? Would this be risky? She creates a culture of humanity and respect in her team. She radiates wisdom and discernment to all of us who rely on her. And as I learned from my work over the past few months with Dr. Stephen Epps, Annette is a medical professional so revered and respected by her colleagues at Christiana Care. Every single member of the Christiana Care community says to me when I identify myself as someone who works besides Annette, "We are so sorry she left us and you are so lucky she's at St. Andrews." As an alumna of the school, Annette represents the full potential and grace of our calling. So now you can come back up and we're going to present this medal congratulating you on your career and your service to Delaware, to St. Andrews, and to the world. I'm always putting things out on the front bulletin board at the school. I'm not really sure how many people actually read the poems and exhortations, but since it's graduation day, I thought I would read one of the pieces that's been up for all 4 years of your careers here. And I'm not going to read the whole poem because surely you've got it memorized, but I'm going to just read 2 stanzas. And I read these with the following preamble. The people I love best are the staff and faculty and students of St. Andrews. So here's what Marge Percy says about what makes us love our colleagues, our family members, and all humanity. Her poem is entitled "To Be of Use." The people I love best jump into the work head first without dallying in the shadows, and they swim off with sure strokes, almost out of sight. They seem to become natives of that element, the black, sleek heads of seals bouncing like half-submerged balls. I want to be with people who submerge in the task, who go into the fields to harvest and work in a row and pass the bags along, who are not parlor generals and field deserters, but move in a common rhythm when the food must come in or the fire must be put out. I stared at that last night, who move in a common rhythm when food must come in or fire be put out. With those words, we thank members of this community for their contributions to this aspirational school. The staff and the faculty bring experts and professionalism to their work. Imagine how you feel when you're talking to Christopher Lewis about your computer, or Lisa Myers about an article you need for a speech or an essay, or Emily Pressman for advice on an English or a history research paper, or Dr. Sarah O'Connor teaching anatomy and physiology, or going to Al Wood when you need help with an injury. There's expertise, there's brilliance, there's presence and such availability, but even more powerful than our faculty's and staff's expertise and reason that they work and serve here is those teachers and all teachers and staff members' kindness and generosity of spirit and support of the student body. So think of the teachers settling in for a long evening in the emergency room. I think Christopher Sanchez is up to 5 this year. Or advisors making space morning, noon, and night. Or teachers who every day respond to my hero, Alexander Nemirov's call to have something at stake every single class period. This blend of love with professional expertise is the quality I most celebrate in the adult culture of the school. It's within the staff. It's within the faculty. It's activated by a love and reverence for our students and for what our students will bring to the world. So with those beautiful poetic lines in mind, please join me in thanking the faculty and the staff for all they do every day to make this work an expression of love and respect and belief and kindness. We thank you. As I say a few words about the group of departing teachers this year, I wanted to emphasize the remarkable contributions they individually and collectively have made to St. Andrews in every aspect of school life. They represent department chairs, class deans, the college counseling office, the admissions office, the leadership of residential spaces, the work of diversity education, the expertise in blended learning, head coaches of championship teams, advisors and mentors and trusted colleagues. We have this incredible community that exists, again, all across the public and private school web in the United States and in the world of former St. Andrews teachers who are changing institutions day by day, year by year, because of their experience as members of the faculty. And the teachers I'm talking about today all have that potential in the field of education. They all are leaders. They all are change makers. They all have the capacity to transform the institutions that they're about to work for. And of course, they go with our love and our gratitude from the students, from the faculty, and from the staff. Taylor Fail. For the past 7 years, Taylor Fail has done superb work at St. Andrews as our Associate Director of Admissions and advisor, coach of varsity boys soccer, varsity girls and boys squash, and boys varsity tennis. As he heads to Boston next fall for business school, we at St. Andrews thank him for his many contributions to the community here. We very much hope that you decide to return to secondary school leadership work after your graduate work is completed, for we see a bright and promising and important future for you in the field of education. Thank you, Taylor. As a teacher of French, associate college counselor, dorm parent on Pell, advisor, and mentor, Sade Jacques has made important contributions to St. Andrews during her 3 years in the school community. We appreciate her love and care for her students in and out of the dormitory, her commitment to her own professional development as a teacher, her superb work with college counseling this year, and the amazing way that she connects with the students in her dorm. Sade heads to graduate school into a teaching appointment at collegiate school in New York City. We will follow her career with great expectations and pride. Sade, thank you for your service to St. Andrews. Eliza McLean joined us again this year for the second time and is an incredible part of the St. Andrews faculty family. As a dorm parent, member of our communications office, and coach of crew, Eliza brings energy and intelligence and enthusiasm and an untiring work ethic to all aspects of campus life. As she returns to New England for work supporting political campaigns this fall, we encourage her to always keep education in mind for her career. Her potential for leadership and accomplishment in our field is immense. Eliza, thank you. We thank Pete Mihalchik for his 3 years of service to St. Andrews as a teacher of Chinese, cross-country and swim coach, dorm parent advisor, and faculty mentor for our LGBTQ plus affinity group. Pete has connected in important and innovative and enthusiastic ways to our students. We wish him well as he returns to New York City and works as a teacher and a member of the admissions staff of the Master's School. He joins a great community of St. Andrews alums working in private and public school all across the country and the world, and he is ready for leadership at the day school level. We appreciate everything Pete has meant to St. Andrews. Megan Mulhern's 2 years here were full of exciting work and accomplishments. As a third form dean, dorm parent on Pell, advisor, coach, teacher of math and history. As she begins her work at Sidwell Friends in Washington, D.C. next year, Megan has our admiration and support for the exciting career that is ahead of her. Her range of expertise, her passion for teaching and student life, her maturity, integrity, and judgment will soon make her a secondary school leader. Thank you, Megan, for all you've given us. Because I've known him since he was 5, I've always wanted Jake Myers on my team. He's a person who epitomizes Marge Piercy's call to work. He's contributed so much to his school when he was a student, when he came to St. Andrews as a full-time member of the faculty, and then over the last 2 years as he's given everything that he can to this school and to the Delaware College Scholars Program. This time, Jake has been a podcast leader focusing on the history of St. Andrews sports, a reporter featuring social media pieces on athletics, a coach, a quarantine dorm parent, an amazing, amazing run, and a dedicated worker for the good of the community. Jake is a person who literally makes St. Andrews grow and flourish, and he runs from thanks, gratitude, applause, acclaim. He forbade me to speak about him today. But I told him we had to talk about the quarantine process, so he said, okay, you can do it. We wish him the very best as he continues his work for Delaware College Scholars Program and begins his work with one of our arch rivals, Wilmington Friends. We'll bring some red every time we go to Wilmington. St. Andrews thanks Matt Westman for his 3 years of work as Modern Language Department Chair, teacher of French, head dorm parent of Fleming, advisor, head of volleyball, and assistant coach of boys varsity basketball. We'll always remember that Terrell and Matt had their last games together when they took St. Andrews for the first time to the Carpenter Center for a great St. Andrews basketball run that will only continue next winter. I cannot wait for that. Matt's passion for languages, his ability to connect to and engage scholars and athletes and artists makes him a dynamic and inspirational boarding school teacher, first at King's Academy in Jordan, here at St. Andrews, and next year at a remote school in Massachusetts called Deerfield Academy. We thank you for sharing your love of teaching and learning with this community, sharing your love of athletics, the arts, languages, and crossword puzzles. Thank you, Matt. The members of the staff who have changed my and Elizabeth's life over the years include so many remarkable people, and one of them we honor today as she retires from St. Andrews, Melba Dixon, who's leaving the school after 15 years of service to this community. I love Melba and her family with my whole heart and soul, for she has become such a major part of our St. Andrews family. Strong, thoughtful, dedicated, kind, loving, humorous, courageous. She teaches me every day about the way to live and work and share and love. For years, we began our day in Founders together between 5 and 6 in the morning. We each had more than enough to do at that hour each day, but we found time to talk about life and family and education and hope and faith and St. Andrews. And as I signed her yearbook yesterday, I wrote that Melba's strength and courage always gave me the energy and the inspiration to work as passionately as I could every day. So it's been an honor for me, for our faculty, for our students to serve beside her all these years. I know I speak for everyone who works in the Arts Center. She is an essential spirit of love and kindness in that beautiful building. And so she retires with all of our love, appreciation, and support. We're so happy you're here with your family. Melba, would you come forward to receive this headmaster medallion in honor of you? Two members of our faculty celebrate milestone years in their careers. Both Donald Duffy and Terrence Gilhaney have served St. Andrews for 25 years each. The sad thing is it seems like only yesterday that I hired them. I remember my interview with Donald Duffy. It was held right over here in Bob Stegman's office in the winter of 1996. Bob Stegman and I thought we were conducting the interview. Within 2 minutes in the interview, Donald was teaching us Spanish. He was passionately and insistingly demanding that we participate and respond and learn immediately with him right then and there. The interview was ultimately a class, a demonstration of how passionately and intentionally Donald Duffy teaches. And so as we honor Donald's service to the school today, we think of his fierce belief in equity and equality, his passionate care and recognition of our staff every single day, his love of the residential program of the school, his commitment to community service, his rejection, right out front, of private school privilege, and an embrace of an ethic that honors all students and all people all the time. We understand that he's not only located the heart of this school, but he's passionately strengthened our values, our dedication to one another, and our pursuit of a public good, and our understanding of the fundamental responsibilities implicit in community. So Donald, would you come forward to accept this medallion for 25 years of dedicated service to the school and its people. Now, Terrence Gilhaney's 25 years comes in two stages. The first following his graduation from Harvard Divinity School, the second over the past 16 years as a leader within the faculty and the school. Terrence has always earned the admiration and affirmation of our students because at heart he is so consistently kind and thoughtful and humble and generous. And that generosity of spirit, open heart, and mind helped change St. Andrews in important and profound ways. Even as he took on so many leadership roles surrounding his outstanding history, religion, and philosophy classes, head of Founders Residential Life, faculty advisor to the Honor Committee, director of college counseling, director of our Middle States Research Project, chair of the religion department, head boys career coach, head girls cross country team, member of the chapel team, supporter of critical affinity groups on campus, and mentor and supporter of LGBTQ+ students, all roles that he either played during this incredible career or still plays at St. Andrews. Terrence has always excelled in the foundational work of the school. As a teacher, advisor, and reliable, generous, and discerning advisor to me, there is no issue, there is no time when I have turned to Terrence and he has not responded with discernment and kindness and consideration and love for this school. He has a deep, abiding sense of what leadership feels like, not only in the good days, but in the difficult days. Terrence is, in short, one of the authors of the miracle of 21st century St. Andrews. Please join me in thanking him for his service to all of us. Terrence, could you come forward? It's now my honor to introduce our school co-presidents, Jill Toria and Nick Lilly. The challenge for student and faculty leadership this year was a vital and important one. As I mentioned to the students Wednesday night, all families and schools and colleges and organizations had to decide on the narratives that were going to characterize their response to the international crisis of the pandemic. The pandemic was the reality. The question was, what's the narrative in terms of our response? Some groups chose to embrace a culture of complaint and victimization and self-pity, and others rose to the occasion of sacrifice in an emergency. We at St. Andrews were determined to emerge from the pandemic and the crisis as more creative and gracious and patient people and community. We wanted to express respect and understanding of the scope of human suffering, and we wanted to find ways to express love and friendship and connection and hope here. And we wanted to be a school of generosity, energy, and love. And we wanted to create a student life experience that was animated and hopeful and fun and meaningful. So Jill Tora and Nick Lilly led their class and the school through a year with really important energy, positivity, and care. They set a tone of gratitude and appreciation and uplift at every school meeting, and they worked hard to help their classmates and underformers understand how important it was for St. Andrews to stay together and to work together to protect the health and wellness of all in this community and town and state, and at the same time reimagine and recreate the spirit and energy of the community. That's what all of us did in our own families. Imagine doing this in your senior year as you're taking 6 courses, pursuing incredible extracurricular activities, and oh yes, applying to colleges and universities. We are proud of the service that Nick and Jill have given to the school. And of course, we're eager to hear the reflections today.
The St. Andrews experience is unique to me because it is about finding gratitude for the small moments of human connection and kindness that we experience every day. As I reflect today on my 4 years at St. Andrews, I see its moments of unity and cohesion that show the fabric of this supportive, talented, and uplifting community. Although it is difficult to narrow down because I've had so many uplifting moments of connection here, I want to share with you 3 of my most memorable SAS moments that I had here. While sitting in the dining hall one day during my junior year, I never would have thought that playing a game of 1-minute chess on my computer would have been the opening of a friendship that has meant so much to me. That day, Stan, a dining hall sage worker, approached me. He said he was an experienced chess player himself. Out of curiosity, he asked me what my ranking was. And I said, "Oh God, he's that serious, he must be pretty darn good." He'd been playing for more than 20 years. Stan's outreach that day led to a friendship that continues till this day. We bonded over our shared love and fascination for chess. We played chess against one another when time permitted too. Talks about chess after a meal in the dining hall translated into a mutual interest in one another. I learned that Stan has a twin brother just like I do. One day last November, Stan's observant self could tell that I wasn't doing too well, and he was right. Earlier that day, during soccer practice, I had accidentally sent my brother to the hospital with a broken collarbone. Stan gave me advice from his bittersweet relationship with his own brother, a twin brother, as a matter of fact, sharing that he had severely injured his own brother by pushing him off of a fence when they were teenagers. He reminded me that my feelings of guilt would be temporary because brothers and people forgive. Time heals wounds was his message. I love you, Matt. These daily check-ins, hellos, and brief conversations made me feel acknowledged, supported, and that I mattered during our COVID year. COVID also had a silver lining for Stan. With students often eating outside, he was able to spend more time out of the kitchen. This gave him the chance to engage with the students in new ways. In fact, my own interactions with Stan spread all the way to the baseball diamond. Earlier this spring, Stan's masked face lit up when I told him I was pitching in our home game that day. A busy work schedule didn't stop him from coming out and supporting the baseball team during his break. In addition to being essential staff in the dining hall, Stan was a St. Andrews fan that day. Although Coach Miller emphasized breathing and focus during my pitching, I couldn't help but notice Stan behind home plate. I smiled, which may have caused me to throw a ball next pitch, but nevertheless, it was a pleasant interaction and distraction and reminder that showing up for someone and supporting them have been at the pillars of my St. Andrews experience. The thrill in being able to share moments of your life with others, like I did with Stan that day, and every day, allowed me to find solace in moments both small and large that unite. Stan told me just recently that, quote, "This year will go down in history because we have united as a school and as people even though we have to be distanced and masked," end quote. Stan couldn't be more right. It is important to realize that our community has always fostered these genuine moments of friendships. And it is just that during this pandemic, we were able to bounce back and realize that life is about bonding, seeking out others, and sharing your time with them, something we all yearned for while we were at home during the pandemic. My second moment has a lot to do with being a fan myself. In March of last year, while most of the students were already home for vacation, the varsity boys basketball team played in the quarterfinal state game, which would advance them to the semifinals of the state tournament. No St. Andrews team had ever gotten that far in 90-plus years. Anyone sitting here today who was at the game can remember the electrifying atmosphere of the gym. Picture a sea of red St. Andreans taking up the whole middle bleachers of a public school gym, cheering so loud at every bucket scored and every hustle play made, to the extent that Will Robb had to look out for so many of us as tension was stirring between us and the opponent's fans. Right in the center of the sea of red was Mr. Roach wearing a bright white sweater. Parents, faculty, international students, and local Middletown Saints all squeezed in to support this group of guys in their exhilarating state run. What we all felt in that gym was a sense of belonging and gratitude for being a part of something much bigger than our individual selves. The fans felt a part of the team, absorbed in the moment by the clock ticking down on the wall and the score yet again in our favor. Now, class of 2021, we moved from being students, athletes, and fans to being alumni. But the good news is we already have some experience with the Alumni Network. In November of 2019, Ms. Roach organized the annual Women's Network on campus. Alumni all over the country traveled back home to St. Andrews to share with us their careers in STEM fields, architecture, city planning, and real estate. This inspiring event allowed St. Andrews students to connect and learn from the amazing network we now have at our fingertips. I learned about sustainable architecture, green living, and city planning in my workshop. What made this so meaningful to me was that the thoughtfulness and the empathy and the passion that I experienced in my class and with Brian Court, the architect who led my workshop, was just so meaningful. I could tell that these St. Andrean qualities served him well in his career and made me eager to learn from him. This reunion made it clear that the relationships we have formed in our class will live on for years to come. We have a family, we have a home, and we're a part of a community that is eager to go out into the world tackling the pressing issues of our generation. We don't just have our class to lean on. We are expanding into this larger St. Andrews community with the generations of St. Andreans before us. Such moments of human connection tie us all into the St. Andrews experience. Dorms, locker rooms, theater stages, and the dining hall are just physical manifestations of the proximity that is built into the fabric of this school. A proximity that allows for meaningful friendships and connections to prosper. I am sure every member of the class of 2021 has their own version of a St. Andrews moment or multiple that have reminded them of the joy in engaging with their community. Let's give a round of applause to our seniors for their SAS moments of graduation. I made it, we all made it. We are not alone because we have each other and a world full of connection that awaits. Thank you.
If you had asked me why I applied to boarding school in my 8th grade year, I would have simply responded, because my parents forced me to. My high school application process actually began in 7th grade with a very anti-boarding school Jill, the A Better Chance Foundation, and a very eager pair of parents. Throughout middle school, I remember being asked if I would go to the public high school, to which I would respond, where else would I go, without any form of hesitation. At that point in my life, my home lied with the same people I had grown up with, right in Langhorne, Pennsylvania, and I didn't understand why that would need to change. Fast forward to September of 2017, I had lost the battle in boarding school with my parents, but I wasn't that upset about it. I had realized, or so I had thought, that boarding school was just college before college. I wouldn't have to wake up early on Saturday mornings to clean the house, or be told what to do at all times, and I couldn't have been more excited. I truly believed that I had everything figured out. So when I pulled into that long driveway beginning my journey of independence, I quickly moved my things into my room and said goodbye to my family without second thought. That September day, the Pell seniors sat us down in the common room and told us to embrace the new changes that we were going to face, because the 4 years that we would spend as a St. Andrean would be over before we knew it. I laughed and listened, but never bought the idea that I would be changed by the St. Andrews experience. I knew who I was and what I stood for, and I didn't think any place, even St. Andrews, as great as it sounded, would have the power to change that. Now standing here in front of all of you, on this podium, looking out onto our beautiful lawn, I am beginning my goodbye to a place that has been so crucial to my development and growth. For the record, I did in fact change. Looking back these few years later, I realized that I did not know who I was back then, but rather that I had an idea of who I wanted to be. St. Andrews, however, allowed me a space to explore my different interests and passions, and even discover some new ones. Every time I fell, there was a line of people waiting to lift me up, because those are the types of people that we are. We care. We care about the world, our communities, and each other. With every performance, school meeting, and swag event, we all show up, simultaneously giving and receiving by devoting ourselves to the work of this school and community. Throughout these 4 years, I have watched and learned from some of the most influential teachers, students, and staff members, witnessing the work that we are starting in an attempt to bridge gaps and live with complete and genuine empathy. And I am eternally grateful for the ways that St. Andrews has shifted my perspectives. The lessons that we take from our experiences here are unique to our individual selves. We will all take bits and pieces of SAS with us as we embark on new journeys and continue to share with the new communities that we will inhabit. Whatever your St. Andrews experience was, I hope that it continues to guide you and influence the work that you do in your future endeavors. Now, as I sit back and think about that response, where else would I go? I cannot begin to imagine the person that I would be without St. Andrews, because the biggest thing that I think I've learned over these past 4 years is that St. Andrews builds people. And if there's a lesson I want you to take from this talk, it is that St. Andrews builds people. We all come in eager and naive, and yet some way we all evolve in the ways that we interact and understand one another. The school and these people allow a space where risks are encouraged, because in my experience, I have discovered the most about myself and my classmates through the risks I've taken in conversation and situations. Put yourselves out there, expect obstacles, and remain true to who you are. St. Andrews has shaped me into this person who listens empathetically, thinks creatively, and loves generously. This place has forced me to consider my own biases and has taught me to express myself, my thoughts, my life in ways that can be used as a basis for genuine connection. So to St. Andrews, thank you for being my home and pushing me to flourish in ways that would not have been possible without the comfort of your love and support. And to the class of 2021, it's been a great ride. Thank you for gifting me and each other with your stories, memories, and friendships. I cannot wait to hear all of your amazing accomplishments in the years to come. Thank you.
Can you two just stand up one more time so we can thank you for both those speeches? It's incredible. Thank you so much. It's now an honor for me to announce several commencement awards. The Robert T. Jordan Award, given by his classmates and former teachers at St. Andrews in memory of Robert T. Jordan, class of 1986, who died September 11th, 2001 in the World Trade Center attack. This award is given to the fourth formers who display the qualities that made Robert so memorable and distinctive: a love of humanity, an appreciation of friendship, a willful perseverance and resolve amidst adversity and opportunity, and a unique and refreshing perspective on life in all its possibilities. Presented by Arts Department co-chair and director of our theater program and classmate of Robert Jordan, Ann Taylor, to Elliot Manalili Sager and Lila Darden Schumann. The Christopher Wilson Award and Scholarship, given by his parents in memory of Christopher Edward Wilson, class of 1999. The award recognizes a senior who best embodies Chris's virtues and personal qualities: a love of St. Andrews, a quiet and authentic appreciation of life, friendship, and community, a devotion to service and to children, and a kind and generous spirit. Presented by his advisor, Viviana Davila, to Edward Hammond Pyle. The Kristen C. Dupre Diversity and Inclusivity Award. Awarded in memory of Kristen C. Dupre, class of 2004, to the six formers who have provided exceptional service to the cultivation of a diverse and inclusive St. Andrews school community. Presented by Dean of Diversity Education Devin Dupre and Co-Dean of Residential Life and Senior Associate Director of Admissions Stacy Dupre, to Amrit Gail Chapman, Alary Anwin Phillips, Helia Zara Sulati, and Nina Rose Zimmerman. The Jonathan B. O'Brien Head of School Award. The Jonathan B. O'Brien Head of School Award celebrates the brilliant and courageous leadership and vision of St. Andrew's third headmaster, John O'Brien, who led the school from 1977 to 1997. The award recognizes seniors who contribute to the ethos of the school with integrity, humanity, generosity, and love. Presented by John O'Brien's daughter, Lou Burrell, daughter of Joan O'Brien and John O'Brien, and our Associate Director of Admission, to the following students: Marvi Alley, Edward Hammond Pyle, Jill K. Tora, and Nina Rose Zimmerman. John McGiff Fine Arts Award, awarded to the student who has made the greatest contribution in the fine arts and demonstrated a depth and quality of talent that demands our recognition. Presented by Arts Department co-chairs Ann Taylor and Joshua Meyer, to Gino Matteo Palacios and Theodore Janelle Taylor. The Henry Prize, awarded to the sixth form students who have been of greatest service to athletics. It recognizes not only personal athletic skill, but also service to the teams of which the students were members. Presented by Dean of Athletics Heidi Pierce and Athletic Director Al Wood, to Nicholas Martin Lilly, Miriam Felicity Wilberding, and Tyler Ray Wood. The King Prize for the leading scholar during the sixth form year, presented by Dean of Teaching and Learning Elizabeth Roach, to Nicholas Beatty Lampietti. The Founders Medal, awarded to the scholar in the graduating class who, during his or her career at St. Andrews, has achieved the best academic record in the form, presented by the founder's great-great-granddaughter, Grace Gehagen, to Yi-Han Chen, virtually. We love you, Hans, is the call, and we know you are there watching. Congratulations. The William H. Cameron Award is given to the sixth form students who have performed outstanding service to the school, presented by their advisors, Elizabeth Roach, Emily Pressman, and Gretchen Hurt, to Madeline Lyman Berkness, Piper Lee Jackman, and Helia Zara Solati. The St. Andrew's Cross, given in honor of the late Bishop Cook of Delaware, who was associated with the founding of the school. The award recognizes the student whose contribution to the school has been distinguished for Christian qualities of concern for others, humility, and high principle. Presented by his advisor, Lindsay Rasnowski, to Yash Patel. Congratulations to all of you. So I have to admit it, I still believe in my heart that Team TAD won Ethos Day. Now look, by the end of the day, Mr. Fail and I were playing like the Bryan brothers. It was amazing. But for a variety of reasons, this does not seem to be an appropriate time, if there ever is a time, to question the integrity or judgment or even mathematical competence of the commissioners Pressman and Ramirez. So I quieted my hyper-competitive instincts, applying them instead to the girls' varsity tennis team over the last 2 weeks. And I sat back and I thought about what it might mean, really mean, to be on Team Elizabeth. So, Elizabeth is a great scholar, teacher, dean of teaching and learning, department chair, coach, advisor of students, and mentor of teachers. She's the lead author of 20th and 21st Century St. Andrew's Coeducation and the founder of the Women's Network that celebrates the extraordinary women who literally took St. Andrew's to new heights of excellence everywhere here. She's the visionary who brought remarkable and inspiring writers like Jesmyn Ward and Colson Whitehead and Elizabeth Acevedo and Colin McCann and Juno Diaz and Richard Blanco and Nathan Englander and more to our campus. She's the co-founder and co-architect of our faculty book discussion series that's led her and Emily Pressman to cities in the East Coast for readings and lectures with parents and alums. She's a trustee and vice chair of Buffalo Seminary, a private school in Buffalo, New York, a city you need to visit someday. She's my mentor, an advisor, an exemplar in conscience. She's the best daughter, sister, mother, grandmother, partner I know. And let's face it, Team TAD, I'm pretty one-dimensional. I'm obsessed by an ethos, a school, a calling, and apparently a series of increasingly predictable words and phrases formed obsessively in cornfields. I need someone. I need to be on someone's team that inspires me, that awakens me to the best way to live a life in family, school, and world. I need someone to help me stop worrying so much, stop thinking so much, stop focusing so much, and instead become more balanced and creative and generous and free. So where did this Elizabeth come from anyway? It came from her loving mother. and father and close-knit family of 4 sisters. And it came from early mornings on the ice as she worked and worked to become a champion pairs figure skater. It came from her career as an astonishingly versatile athlete in field hockey and basketball and tennis. She's a member of the Nichols School Athletic Hall of Fame, and I'm still waiting for that call. It came from her experience working her way through high school. Students granted financial aid at our school had to work during the summer on campus to quote unquote justify the school's investment in them. She worked her way through college. This spirit came from college professors and mentors who saw goodness and greatness in her, and it came from a love of all St. Andrews students, especially those who might at first or at some time wonder whether this school was really theirs. It came from fighting for coeducational reform at her high school, being a Sarah Williston Scholar at Mount Holyoke College, where she received recognition from the president for her contributions to the life of the college. It came from learning from James Maddox as she earned her master's degree at the Breadloaf School of English. It came from being the first woman to serve here as athletic director, director of residential life, and associate college counselor. It came from dorm parenting for years on Moss and Pell, advising and mentoring 40 classes of advisees, and sharing her home with students and faculty, children, and faculty and staff, and alumni and trustees and teaching candidates. It came from apple turkey parties, late night pizza parties for all classes, Christmas parties open to the full community. It came from envisioning the school's approach to exhibitions, the tutorial program, the shift to blended learning this year, the new schedule designed to balance the school day during the pandemic, and weekly letters on teaching and learning to the faculty. The truth is that Team Tad, or at least Tad himself, would really not exist without Team Elizabeth. Every moment of courage, passion, commitment, and vision I shared here emerged because she, for some reason, believed in me, encouraged me, loved me, sacrificed for me over and over and over again as I worked with my heart and soul for this place I love so much. Every element that makes St. Andrews the community of hope that it is has emerged through her love and grace and passion and dedication to all of you. So we are honored to welcome her as our commencement speaker in this, her 40th and final year at St. Andrews. But first, we want to thank you for all you mean to each one of us and to this school. We love you.
Really, Tad? Really? I mean, nevertheless, Team Elizabeth forever. Good morning, faculty, staff, trustees, students, and especially seniors and the families and loved ones of our graduates. It's such an honor to speak to all of you on this joyful and glorious day. Some of you might know that Mr. Roach tried his hardest to bring Brian Stevenson back to St. Andrews as your commencement speaker. I have to confess that it's been tough for me to compete with Brian for Mr. Roach's attention the last few years. So even though I'm really sorry for all of you that Brian couldn't make it, I'm glad and grateful to be at least Mr. Roach's second choice today. To begin, I want to spend a moment to acknowledge and thank parents, grandparents, guardians, siblings, extended family members, and friends for the faith you had in all of us as you entrusted your loved ones to our care. It's precisely because of all of you who have worked so hard, committed so deeply, and sacrificed so much for a number of years that we can celebrate this beautiful morning. As you have done for 18 years with such love and support, you are here today to bear witness with the rest of us to these young women and men who have studied and lived and played and loved and grown together and are now ready to share their gifts with the rest of the world. Yes, seniors, this day is a day to celebrate all of you, but it's also a day to celebrate your families. I would also like to dedicate my talk today to the class of 2020, remembering their strength and resilience last year at this time when we could not gather together on campus for their graduation. When I started teaching at St. Andrews in 1981, I was 22 years old, a recent college graduate, just married, and completely new to boarding school and teaching. I really had no idea what I was doing, and I had no idea why I was doing it. I remember moving through those early blurry days of teaching and coaching, just trying to survive, trying to find a bit of light to make sense of this new job and new life of mine. I loved literature, I loved sports, I loved the beauty of the campus, and I loved being married, but it was also all confusing, exhausting, and overwhelming. In literature, there's often a moment near the beginning of the novel that captures the essential elements of the story as a whole. As readers, we can usually identify this moment because of the way the author signals its significance. But we can't fully appreciate its meaning until we finish the novel and see how the moment gives clarity and resonance to the characters and story as a whole. In the narrative of my own life, this moment happened that first year of my working at St. Andrews, when Stacy Dupre, then Stacy Williams, a ninth grader I had not yet spoken to, approached me one day and told me that she was my daughter, that I was her mother, that we were family. You can perhaps imagine my surprise in that moment. After all, I was 22 years old and not really ready to become a mother to a 14-year-old. But I was aware enough to realize that Stacy was looking for a human connection at St. Andrews, that she was trying to find her place at this completely unfamiliar, primarily white, co-ed, yet still very male, boarding school in the cornfields of Delaware, a school she had not visited, had not even seen until she arrived here that September, a school far away from her home and family in New York City. In essence, Stacy asked me to see her. Actually, in true Stacy fashion, she demanded that I see her. My eyes focused on a beautiful, brazen young woman, but I also saw a vulnerable, scared young girl, a brown girl in a sea of white girls. She also demanded that I hear her. When I listened, I heard her strength and courage, as well as her fear and sense of powerlessness. I heard her ask for a family, for safety, for protection, for visibility. In short, she wanted me to bear witness to her existence at St. Andrews. In doing so, she prompted me to both awareness and action. I had thought in those first few months that my job was to teach writing and literary analysis and to coach field hockey. But I needed to radically change my focus and acknowledge that even in a small boarding school, there were students who felt invisible. I needed to move from the passive, more self-absorbed state that Stacy had found me in to a more active and alert state. Part of the magic of that moment was that when Stacy asked me to see her, when she identified me as a person she chose to be her mother, she saw me. She changed my life. And infused me with a sense of purpose that gave my work at St. Andrews new direction and meaning that I had not known was there. And although I certainly did not understand to what extent that moment was going to change me, and my life for the next 4 decades, I did know implicitly that my world had shifted. That the work that needed to be done at St. Andrews was far greater than just my own survival of each new bewildering day. That there was more at stake than I had ever anticipated when I arrived here that sweltering day in mid-August. Stacy inspired me to shift my priorities and focus, to make my primary responsibility as a teacher at St. Andrews to see and hear every student, particularly students of color, particularly girls in a newly coeducational school, and through the years, many other students who felt invisible and vulnerable for a variety of reasons. When she sought me out, she also woke me up and gave me direction and purpose, a purpose that became my life here for the next 40 years. Today, I want to talk about the importance of bearing witness as we move through life. To bear witness requires 2 parties, one person who sees and another person who is seen, who comes into existence and visibility because of the acknowledgement, understanding, and empathy of the other. Sometimes, as was the case with me, it works both ways. Stacy, is this working? Stacy, I believe, knew or intuitively sensed that I too was lost, that she needed to bear witness to me as I tried to navigate my way through my own confusion and feelings of invisibility. Once she did, I could also see myself more clearly, and I could turn my eyes outward and see her more clearly as well. All of us have heard and internalized Mr. Roaches' exhortations on the need for empathy and his insistence on a culture of kindness. We know that empathy is about the ability to understand and share feelings with someone else. We know that kindness is about the ability to be generous to and considerate of others. I now want to add a 3rd component to this equation of how to live a meaningful life: bearing witness. To bear witness shares some of the qualities of empathy and kindness. It necessitates us to look beyond ourselves, just like empathy and kindness. But it is also distinctive in its focus. The verb bear suggests the notion of support and carrying the weight of something or someone, while witness is about seeing. Furthermore, to bear witness is an intensely active state. It requires alertness and a willingness to share the emotional and psychological burden, to partner with someone else and their experience. In recent weeks, you have heard from many of your classmates this call for bearing witness. William, Christine, Helia, Amrit, Marvi, Gino, for example, in their incredible speeches and poems, have asserted the urgency to see and be seen, to fight for understanding and visibility, to seek the truth, reconciliation, and justice we need. Many years ago, Sister Helen Prejean visited St. Andrews to talk about bearing witness to people on death row, work she has now been doing for 30 years. In a recent interview, she describes the work of bearing witness and the need to put ego aside. There is no room for ego bearing witness. By definition, means you must look outside of yourself. She says, see, an ego thing would be saying, all this time, look how hard I've worked, look how much I try, and now look at all these killings. That would be ego. Oh, look what it's doing to me. Then the energy fades out of me. Oh, because of what it's doing to me. But it's got nothing to do with me, except I've been placed in this position to be a witness, and I found I can talk to people about it. That's what the fire is. See, it's just like, get out there now and do what you're supposed to be doing. I'm struck struck by the directness and simplicity of her statement. Get out there now and do what you're supposed to be doing. Without ego blurring our vision, she argues there is clarity and a sense of urgency. One of my favorite moments in literature is the birth of Denver in Beloved, a scene in which Morrison captures the intensity and beauty of bearing witness as she lyrically describes the work of two women, one a runaway enslaved person and one a runaway indentured servant, one black and one white, both disenfranchised, both powerless, both invisible, both marginalized, and in Morrison's words, throwaway people. Two women bringing new life into this world. Seniors, you have all read this moment in Beloved, but listen carefully to Morrison's prose. On a riverbank in the cool of a summer evening, two women struggled under a shower of silvery blue. They never expected to see each other again in this world, and at the moment couldn't care less. But there, on a summer night, surrounded by blue fern, they did something together appropriately and well. A pateroller passing would have sniggered to see two lawless outlaws, a slave and a barefoot white woman with unpinned hair, wrapping a 10-minute-old baby in the rags they wore. But no pateroller came and no preacher. The water sucked and swallowed itself beneath them. There was nothing to disturb them at their work, so they did it appropriately and well. Emily Pressman is not surprised, I bet, that I'm quoting this passage today. After all, we've taught this novel together for the past 12 years, and she knows my obsession with this particular moment. As only Toni Morrison can do, she loads this paragraph with so much, but she does so with such simplicity. Her repetition of appropriately and well, for example, captures the miraculous work of Setha and Amy as they bring new life into this world naturally and gracefully in an old boat with holes on a riverbank of the Ohio River, literally the line between the free states of the North and the slave states of the South. She captures the collaborative and necessary work of women here as well, work that is often overlooked or taken for granted or unseen, work that is creative and powerful, but powerful in a distinctive way from our more conventional notions of power. This moment could only happen because Amy bore witness to Setha and then to the baby. Setha, too, bears witness to Amy, both in the work they accomplished together and by the fact that she then names her baby after Amy Denver, saying at the end of the chapter, "That's pretty, Denver, real pretty." This moment could only happen in collaboration. It could only happen because Setha sees Amy, and Amy was able to both bear the weight of Setha's trauma and see Setha and what she needed in this moment. The moment is both mythic in its scope, but also intensely intimate and simple. In her use of the most basic language to describe the most heroic act, Morrison enacts in her prose what is so powerful here, that the most profound miracles can happen through gestures done appropriately and well. That this kind of work, in fact, can be done by anyone. It's work that has no ego. It's work that is often uncelebrated. It's work that, in the words of Tiana Grimes-Wolfe last week in her beautiful chapel talk, forces us to acutely and intensely be in the present moment. Our many Visiting speakers in recent years: Brian Stevenson, Diane Nash, Becca Stevens, Colson Whitehead, Jesmyn Ward, Richard Blanco, Alexander Nemiroff, Colin McCann, Elizabeth Acevedo, Ya Jesse have implored us with similar messages of empathy and bearing witness. Consider, for example, the ending of Transatlantic. Colin McCann writes a beautiful and seemingly simple scene between two women, a scene in which Aveen Menyaki bathes Hannah, a broken and grieving woman, and brings her back to life and purpose essentially by her touch, her grace, her willingness to listen to Hannah's story, her ability to bear witness to Hannah's life. Consider, too, Elizabeth Acevedo's insights this spring in her talk with us on an author's responsibility to really be able to see and know the characters and cultures they choose to depict. Repeated in their works of art and in their conversations with us at St. Andrews, the greatest writers and thinkers of our time reinforce the need and urgency to bear witness. In her essay entitled Witness and Despair in Vanity Fair this fall, Jesmyn Ward meditates on the tragic death of her husband at 33 years old from COVID-19. Although because it was so early in the pandemic, he was not diagnosed at the time of his death. She also meditates on the protests after George Floyd's murder. She writes, "I cried in wonder each time I saw protest around the world because I recognized the people. I recognized the way they zipped their hoodies, the way they raised their fists, the way they walked, the way they shouted. I recognized their action for what it was, witness. Even now, each day, they witness. They witness injustice. They witness America, this country that gaslit us for 400 effing years. Witness that my state, Mississippi, waited until 2013 to ratify the 13th Amendment. Witness that Mississippi didn't remove the Confederate battle emblem from its state flag until 2020. Witness Black people, indigenous people, so many poor brown people lying on beds in frigid hospitals, gasping our last breaths with COVID-riddled lungs, rendered flat by undiagnosed underlying conditions, triggered by years of food deserts, stress, and poverty. Lives spent snatching sweets so we could eat one delicious morsel, savor some sugar on the tongue. Oh Lord, because the flavor of our lives is so often bitter. They witness our fight too, the quick jerk of our feet, see our hearts lurch to beat again in our art and music and work and joy. How revelatory that others witness our battles and stand up. They go out in the middle of a pandemic and they march. I sob, and the rivers of people run in the streets. As you can hear, Ward explicitly invokes the notion of witness as a powerful force that she needs, both personally and globally, to help her reconcile her personal loss as well as the many tragic losses that span 400 years of American history. Witness, she argues, is necessary in the fight against injustices and entrenched racism. For witness is about actually seeing the truth, acknowledging the existence of the otherwise invisible, dispossessed, forgotten, and overlooked. By doing so, we assert others' humanity, dignity, and belonging. We see them. We see their truth. We confirm their existence. Ward asks, pleads, demands witness for herself, for others, for the world. She also celebrates the courageous acts of witness that occurred last summer when people made the choice to go out to fight and to march for Black lives. If we were really alert this year, if we were in a state of bearing witness, we were able to see and understand the lessons of the pandemic. We were able to see the tragedies and losses. We were able to put our own wants and desires, sometimes real, sometimes petty, for ourselves and our children into a larger context. We were able to see the reality of others' lives more clearly. We were perhaps able to transform in radical ways how we think about privilege, injustice, systemic oppression, and racism. The pandemic should have jolted us out of our complacency, out of our own angsty, emotional puzzles we often get trapped within, out of seeing ourselves as the center of the universe. If we bear witness, as Ward argues, we will fight for health, for safety, for visibility, for justice. We will see others instead of just ourselves. Bearing witness, then, can be profound in its very simplicity and intimacy, as Toni Morrison teaches us, and it can be profound in its outreach and resonance, as Jesmyn Ward teaches us. When Stacy asked me to bear witness to her that fall day, I could never have imagined the story we would write together for the next 40 years. In that moment, a moment of extraordinary courage, Stacy Williams invited me into her life, into her story, the story that she was trying to write as a young student at St. Andrew's School, a place where she was seeking connection, community, a sense of identity, and place and belonging. Together, we created a family, a family that also included Will Spears, and later all of our own children, Kristen, Devin, and Jalen, Matthew, Hadley, Z, and Annie. A family that needed each other more profoundly than we could have anticipated during those early years. In fact, Matthew Roach, our oldest child, and Kristen Dupre, Stacy's oldest child, were members of the class of 2004. And as family, they looked after, supported, protected, loved, and bore witness to one another throughout their 4 years together here. When Kristen tragically died, we needed to come together as a family in the deepest way, in the way that only a family can be to and for one another. In that darkness, seeing and feeling and sharing, bearing witness to the unfathomable pain, we grieved and still grieve the loss of Kristen, her radiant smile, her warmth, her love. As Matthew wrote about her, she was the person who lived to create joy and happiness. She was such a positive, loving, and enthusiastic presence. The person we look to as an affirmation of the human spirit and an example of how to love life. Stacy didn't realize it that day in September of 1981, but she defined my mission as a teacher at St. Andrews. A mission of bearing witness to all our students, especially the most vulnerable students, that Mr. Roach and I have dedicated our lives to and who have enriched us in profound ways. Brian Stevenson captures an essential component of bearing witness in Just Mercy when he recognized that he does this work to fight inequality, abuse of power, poverty, oppression, and injustice, not just to help those who are broken, but because he himself is broken. Sorry. Since Tad's good friend Brian couldn't be here today, the least I can do is quote him. We are all broken by something. We have all hurt someone and have been hurt. We all share the condition of brokenness, even if our brokenness is not equivalent. Sometimes we're fractured by the choices we make. Sometimes we're shattered by things we would never have chosen. But our brokenness is also the source of our common humanity, the basis for our shared search for comfort, meaning, and healing. Our shared vulnerability and imperfection nurtures and sustains our capacity for compassion. When asked how she has been able to do her own work of being a spiritual advisor and bearing witness to people on death row for so many years, Sister Helen Prejean states, "How did I get so committed to carry on this mission for 30 years and not waver from it and not burn out? Because I got grasped by something bigger than me. I experienced myself as being a witness, being brought into these executions, and then the moral imperative was just born in me. I got to be a witness. Why didn't I waver? Why didn't I burn out? Because the energy is alive. And maybe passions in life are like that for us. They get a hold of us. It's almost like we're following them. While I would never presume to compare myself to Sister Helen, she does capture how and why the work of bearing witness can be sustained over many years. The energy is alive. Now I can see the full resonance of that moment with Stacy, how it got hold of us and made us live with intensity and alertness, how it informed all the work and passion of our life and work here, how it gave us an imperative and why we never burned out. Bearing witness to our shared humanity, Stacy and I and the rest of our newly formed family committed ourselves to each other to share in the greatest joys and the deepest sorrows of our lives. We have continued to write our story and expanded that sense of family to our students, the faculty, the staff, the parents of St. Andrews over the past 40 years. You may not realize this, but you have changed us more than we have changed you. In this era, when we talk a lot about the importance of self-care, it turns out the best self-care, the best formula for living a life of meaning is seeing and caring for others. Most importantly, you never know exactly what is at stake in the relationships you create in the process of bearing witness. You never know what those relationships will yield, what might happen, when you will need others, and when others may need you. To my daughter, Stacy, happy birthday. I love you. You seniors are also now part of that story. You have brought your families here today to bear witness to the fact that you have successfully completed this important chapter in your lives, and that you will be forever integral to telling, promoting, and enacting the ethos of kindness and empathy that Mr. Roach has taught you during your time at St. Andrews. Make others visible in acts great and small. Bear witness.
It's now time to award the diplomas to the grade class of 2021. And I ask my colleague and friend Ana Ramirez to join me at the podium for this exciting moment. Parents, grandparents, all of you, don't be shy. Come right up. This of all days, you should be proximate as your child gets the diploma. There's no reason for you to be away. So enjoy this moment. We've been waiting for it for a really long time. So Anna, I'll turn it over to you.
Good afternoon. We begin this part of our ceremony with a certification of attendance for our assist student, Julian Vincent Falowski. Okay, class of 2021, we're gonna start what you have been working for so hard for 2 years. We're gonna bear witness of all the fruit that you have given us here, given to yourself, all the seeds that you have planted. And so here we go. Marvi Anushi Hanishi Ali. John Alexander Matuk Austin. Riley Catherine Baker. Luke Aaron Barnes. Eleanor Callery Beams. William Thomas Bellissimo. Faye Roberta Benjamin. Madeline Lyman Bergnes. Christopher Terrell Blake. Nora Brookfield Bocock. Sadak Hooper Bond. Emily Nicole Boyer. Sarah Karina Bruno. Claudina Felicia Buccini Bonetti. Catherine Baxter Butcher. Amrit Gail Chapman. Inua Chen. Hydrum Elizabeth Cobb. Nia Iman Cross. Anne Vivinas Denny. Ashley McKinnon Doucette. Elizabeth Rhett Edens. Sally Mellis England. Oliver Pierre Firmenich. William Mugford Fry. Elizabeth Mabel Hall. Amelia Maria Hammond. Felix Iñaki Hernandez. Piper Lee Jackman. Noah Reo Cates. Cole Thomas K. Joseph Anthony Ketzner III. Matthew Daniel Kujawski. Nicolas Bieri Lampieri. Zadok Livingston Otis Leroy. Elizabeth Levengood. Matthew Booth Leary. Nicholas Martin Lilly. Patrick James Mobison. Mason Bedford McKee. Gwendolyn Lloyd Negley Mellon. Hayden Oliver Messina. John Tyler Meyer. Andrew Robert Mitchell. Matthew Arnold Mitchell. Zuyon Wen. Elizabeth Hunt Nielsen. Gino Mateo Palacios. Andrew Park. Yash Patel. Kent Wilkin Peters. And Larry Anwin Phillips. Griffin Elizabeth Pitt. Arush Puri. Edward Hammond Pyle. Mary Emmeline Rickert. Gianna Xiomara Rosario. Owen Elliott Schneider. Ihan Shen. Zachary Stover Shepherd. Belle Foley Schiffman. Robert Chiroyan. Claire Elan Slinkard. Helia Sarah Sulari. Kaishen Sun. Jackson Ezekiel Sweats. Theodore Jano Taylor. Trayvon Fritz Thomas. Elliot David Thomas Hilton. Jill K. Tora. Marie Ueda. Arvin Neil Vanikar. Carter Allen Vincent. Lila Forbes Warren. Zaya Marie Williams. Miriam Felicity Wilmerding. Briar Madeline Wood. Caden Thurman Wood. Tyler Ray Wood. Xingchuan Chuang. Nina Rose Zimmerman. Robert Stewart Sorba. Congratulations all.
For Elizabeth and me, working for 40 some years at St. Andrews and leading the school for 24 has given us an unusual perspective on governance and leadership. It's been our honor to work with such incredible trustees who have served as wise counselors and mentors to both of us during the beginning of our careers, the middle of our careers, and the very end of our careers. When I began as a head of school, I figured a good year would be 1 or 2 calls to my board chair, and I just didn't want to make that call, ever, for fear that the call would signal some sort of an emergency or crisis or difficulty or weakness of mine. And I got over that habit really, really quickly over the years. The last 5 years, I've been honored to work with Scott Saprell as the chair of the Board of Trustees, someone I knew incredibly well as a student and as an athlete and as a friend during the course of all of these years since 1981. And together we worked very, very closely, not only during the pandemic, but in the days and weeks and years before the pandemic, dreaming that we could construct an incredible seamless transition for St. Andrews and find an incredible 5th head of school, which we have done. Dreaming that we could make sure that my work with Joy would build strength and momentum and energy and creativity for the future of the school, which we've done. And in these very difficult 16 months, working collaboratively to make sure that we were doing everything possible to follow the mission and calling of the school. So as I introduced Scott for his remarks labeled in the program concluding remarks, I wanted to thank him and Tracy for their mentorship and friendship to me and Elizabeth all these years, and to thank all the trustees here and not here for their incredible friendship. I had this incredible meeting with Kitten Gahagan just 2 weeks ago. She came down to school to see me, and we sat under our tent. And I was able to express to her what her presence and leadership and love have meant to me and Elizabeth during the course of this time. So we're so honored to work beside the Board of Trustees. We're so honored to have so many trustees here, and I'm so honored to have Scott conclude our remarks. So after Scott speaks, Jay will be back for a final prayer, and then, and not until then, we will declare you alumni of the school. So Scott.
Thank you. Thank you, Tad. Good afternoon, St. Andrews family, students, faculty and staff, fellow trustees, parents, friends, Head-elect McGrath, and most importantly, class of 2021. It's usually my function at this amazing celebration to give brief introductory remarks, but today, I'm on the opposite end of the program, saying goodbye. Some of you might be aware that we have another retirement to talk about this afternoon, that of Tad and Elizabeth. But before I proceed any further, I want you all to pause and to contemplate the enormous significance of their careers. Think about the loyalty and the perseverance and the love that is required to dedicate yourself to one single cause for 4 decades. It's extraordinary and it's exemplary. Tad and Elizabeth, you will be missed. To help me recite some of the ways in which you will be missed, I asked our graduating seniors for some assistance. They described your genuine investment in each and every performance and competition, and the affirmation they felt after receiving a congratulatory email or seeing you rooting from the sidelines of a sports event. They spoke about your inspiring visions about how to change the world. They commented how your offices were always available to connect, listen, learn, and counsel. They described your unique ability to blend fierce competitiveness with care and compassion. They appreciated your ability to listen actively and to appreciate all contributions to every conversation, however odd. One student will miss Mr. Roach's beautiful bald spot. And of course, food gets a mention, the trips to McDonald's and Mrs. Roach's cookies. What unites all of these reflections is a deep love and respect for both of you, and for the energy, kindness, and patience you have demonstrated in your care and stewardship of this community. For all of us, it is hard to say goodbye, and it is hard to thank you appropriately, but let me try. In honor of your extraordinary love and support for this community, for its mission, its students, its faculty, its staff, its alumni, its families, and its essential purpose, I will share with each of you these St. Andrews medallions as a very small token and reminder of the work you did here. Will you step forward? When we think about the life and contributions of Tad and Elizabeth Roach, one inescapable adjective is energy. You two played every possible role at St. Andrews: teacher, advisor, coach, dorm parent, leader. To any observer, you two were everywhere, buzzing with engagement and excitement to support every endeavor in this community and to fortify all of them, from the most noteworthy to the most invisible. And particularly during the historic challenges of these last 2 years, your tireless commitment was the essential glue this community needed. It was hard work, and it was exhausting. But just like you promised, both of you are sprinting through the finish line and leaving it all on the field. But very soon, you will enjoy some well-deserved rest. And to help you do exactly that, we have some items that should come in handy during your retirement. Could you please bring those 2 chairs forward? I'm actually going to ask Tad and Elizabeth to model the chairs. So, St. Andrew's family, how do they look? You know, I actually considered putting a seatbelt on Tad's chair in hopes that that would keep him grounded, but he's promised me he's going to take some time to reflect and to re-energize and to rest. Thank you both for this amazing contribution. There is something else. When our campus is buzzing again in the fall with the vibrancy of new and returning students, learning and laughing and bonding together, there will be no Tad and there will be no Elizabeth physically present. But I am confident that what you meant to this community will live on in your absence. One thing that will certainly live on is the amazing Roach vocabulary and how it changed our thoughts and our actions. It made us courageous, audacious, authentic. It built grit and it built grace. This won't leave us. But the greatest of all words in the Roach vocabulary will never be in dispute. That word is ethos. Ethos described a community that made deliberate choices about our beliefs and our aspirations. And ethos shaped how we lived on this campus and how we lived once we left it. For many generations of St. Andreans, we will never again hear that word without thinking of St. Andrews. And so it seems altogether fitting and appropriate that we should forge that word permanently into the soul of St. Andrews by having it attached to a place that represents a crossroads of our community, a place where we meet and mingle, a place where we laugh and tell stories, a place where we nourish ourselves, both physically and emotionally. With great pride, the Board of Trustees announced today that the place formerly known as Dining Hall will from this day forward be known as Ethos Hall. And anyone entering Ethos Hall will see this plaque that reads, Ethos Hall, in honor of Tad and Elizabeth Roach, who inspired generations of St. Andreans to create a culture of kindness, care for others, and belonging for all. Thank you both.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave?
You can remain standing for the benediction. Well, because everything's going to break loose as soon as this is over, so be ready. And I think it's appropriate if Tad and Elizabeth join the class of 2021 down here for their graduation as well. Let us pray. O Eternal One, as you drive down the long driveway to leave school one last time, take with you the knowledge that you go with God and with the affection of the faculty, staff, and underformers at St. Andrews. However, you also leave carrying with you great expectations, the expectations that you will carry the message of St. Andrews forward into this world, to bear witness to all that you have learned here, and to become allies in the struggle against injustice, discrimination, inequity, and insensitivity, and to protest the brokenness of this world. Go now with hope in your hearts and share the love of God, the grace of God, and the peace of God with everyone you come in contact with. In the name of the Blessed Trinity, amen.
So again, with great thanks to all of you families that have joined us, we hope you'll stay, enjoy this beautiful afternoon, have some great food, and celebrate your amazing kids. Congratulations.
Yeah.